Hey guys, what's up? It's Mike again, and I'm here with part 2 of my Amazing Spider-Man review of Spider Island. I'm going to be covering the first two official issues of Spider Island, Amazing Spider-Man 667 and Amazing Spider-Man 668. So here's 667. I have the Fantastic Four 50 Years Variant Edition, signed by Dan Slott, and the cover artist Stephanie Hans. It's actually a very nice cover. That's Medusa in the middle. I'm interested in why Sue Storm isn't on it, but whatever. It's actually a very good cover. I like it a lot. It's very retro. And Amazing Spider-Man 668, mine is signed by Dan Slott, and it's so for the official Spider Island arc. The creative team for the book is the writers Dan Slott, and the artist combo is Humberto Ramos. Um, who else is there? I totally shenaniganed out on the rest of the artists, or Humberto Ramos's like team of artists. Olazaba and Delgado, who's the other names. It's Edgar Delgado and um oh for there we go. For 667, the team is Dan Slott, Humberto Ramos, Edgar Delgado, and Carlos Cuevas. But for the issues following that, it's randomly Dan Slott, Humberto Ramos. Who are the rest of these people? Edgar Delgado and Olazaba, whose name is like blanking on me for the moment. It's Victor Olazaba, who's the inker. There we go. That's a fail on my part, guys. I apologize. Um, so starting off, we're gonna start off with 667. Basically, it starts off with Spider-Man, Peter being the recap page that Marvel likes to do when they have arcs and things like when they write. And Peter's explaining how he's a New Yorker. He's a child of New York. New York's part of him as much as he's a part of it. And it ends up back, and he's like, oh, they should stop at this point. They're in his apartment. We come back to his apartment, and he's with his girlfriend Carly, and he's looking down at her from our viewpoint, but in reality, she's on the ceiling. She has spider powers, and she's sort of like, oh yeah, of course I told you I had powers. We're a couple, and Peter's like, this is gonna come bite me in the ass. Not only that, Carly believes that Peter builds all of Spider-Man's gear and gadgets, but that's their team. Like that's how Peter, sort of helps Spider-Man out, and that's how he knows Spider-Man, which is sort of accurate, but at the same time, he's trying to keep his identity secret. But so we start off there, and Peter's like, you know what, you're going to the doctor. She's like, oh, you could build me gadgets now. I could be a superhero. And he's just like, yeah, that's what we need, you as a superhero. Little to be known, they're being spied on by the current Madam Web, Julia Carpenter. Wait, actually, no, she's not spying on them, but instead she's spying on these villains who all have spider powers. They're meeting. Shang-Chi tries to sneak up on her, but he knows the future. He gets annoyed by it. He wants to go and whoop up on the villains with her because they know they could take him, but she stuns him with her psi webs, and this is an important part. So the Jackal rolls through with Spider King and the Tarantula, his two enforcers. They're giant spider monsters, and he gives the villains. He breaks open a box, and it's filled with Spider-Man costumes, and he's like, they're gonna go like shenanigans are about to occur. We then pan over to Peter with Aunt May and her husband, Jay Jameson, John Jonah Jameson's father. They're married, which is surprising. Not for those who didn't know, and they're going to Boston. He's like, all right. He tells her to take care, and from there, they're on their way back, and you see chaos throughout New York. Hundreds of people in Spider-Man costumes swinging around, stealing stuff, destroying the city. MJ's caught in the middle. She's just like, where's Peter? She saves a kid. she's about to get like, she gets hit on by this creepy dude, like who she thinks is Peter, but he's like, he pervs out on her. Ben Grimm and Mr. Fantastic save her, and the Avengers roll through, and they just start smacking down everyone in a spider suit. Peter's on the, I believe, the Brooklyn or George. He's on the George Washington Bridge, I believe. And Carly jumps out the cab, swings off into danger, and Peter's like, he's like, wow, this is what it feels like to, for when he disappears and just swings off into danger. He's just like, so he changes into his spider costume and goes after her. And then when you see them, he ends up trying to help the Avengers, but he ends up getting beat down by Miss Marvel, the Thing, and Iron Fist. And the and Madam Web is watching this all occur, saying how this is like Spider-Man, her champion, is connected to the web of life, and this is teaching him a lesson that no matter whatever powers he has, like, you know, how great they are, in Spider Island they are useless, and he is just like everyone else, which is a weird saying, like Spider-Man being like everyone else. And Shang-Chi shows up, and he's going to help in, and she's like, whatever, I'll allow this, because whatever you do doesn't change the fact that Peter isn't learning something, like his responsibility doesn't exist. As for this issue, the artwork, the writing by Dan Slott, it was an excellent issue, writing wise. There were a lot of quips. The Avengers appear, and they have, I like the way he writes each of the characters and the way they talk and interact. What else is there? Also the way Peter is just making like little quips and here and there about, you know, wow, just Peter's thought process throughout the entire book. First his girlfriend gets powers and tells him, he's just like if it ever comes out I have powers, it's gonna bite me in the ass. When Madam Web like sees Peter, she's just like, she's so like displaced. She's like the Watcher, essentially, like not giving a crap, like other than trying to protect the world. She just she's like in the background moving the pieces, and that's about it. Otherwise, story-wise, it's really good. Dialogue, full of dialogue, like always with Dan Slott. What really ties the book together, though, is the artwork by Humberto Ramos. He draws his characters very cartoony and crazy, which I think is excellent for this type of book, for Amazing Spider-Man, especially during this like cartoony, somewhat serious. This is a serious arc, I guess, but like this cartoony, serious like situation, like people are flying all over the place. Spider-Man are getting punched in the face. There's tons of different versions of Spider-Man running around. You got the regular Amazing Spider-Man. You have his costume that when he had webs under his arms, the web capey things. Fake symbiote Spider-Man costumes, Iron Spider-Man costumes, and people like of all different sizes are wearing them. You got Scarlet, like huge people who the costume doesn't fit, like really buff people, really skinny people, short people. It's just like chaos. And I like the fact that the Avengers come in and just start whooping up on every single person they see in a suit. Like, and even when Spider-Man tries to tell I'm Spider-Man, they're like, oh, we've heard that. Like they haven't heard that before. Someone saying, oh, I'm really Spider-Man. So that's funny. So for the book, I'm gonna give it because of the artwork, which ties the book really well and just like really helps build the book up. I'm gonna give this issue a 4 out of 5. It was a great book. With all that happened, there's so much that happened, and especially since this just laid, like, even with the prologue, this just helped like build the foundation for like, wow, Spider-Man's life is like, we thought it was awesome. It just came back and just bit him like right in the ass. Just like, wow, being Spider-Man, it doesn't seem like it'd be that great anymore. So where's this? So the next issue I'm gonna be talking about is 668. With this cover, this is a regular cover because they didn't make variant for it. It starts off with Peter getting his ass whooped and Shang-Chi helping him up, and they're like, oh, what are you doing? That's not Spider-Man, that's one of them. And Shang-Chi's like, this is Spider-Man, this is really him. They confirm it by Wolverine smelling him. It's like, this is our guy, plus he ate a cherry Pop-Tart, and Peter is just like please don't karate chop me, slash, and you know, he's just making jokes, sorta, even though he's just got his ass whooped by the Avengers, and he's about to jump into the fight, but essentially they bench him. They're like, there's too many of you guys running around, go home. It's like, you'll just get in the way. And this as I'm gonna address it later, but that was actually a pivotal point in the book. So Peter moves on. He goes to he changes out of his costume and sees Nora, who I think her name's Nora Winters or something. She's working at the New Daily Bugle, trying to record this chaos, and she asks Peter to record the video. Mary Jane goes up to Peter and is like, "What are you doing?" And Peter's like, "Oh, I'm just normal. I'm just here helping, you know, being normal." And Mary Jane's like, "Well, look at Carly. She's fighting crime." And Peter realizes, it's like, look, she's showing responsibility. Like, you know, she's showing that with great power comes great responsibility. So Peter turns the camera, and it's a live feed and live news feed to the entire city. And he's like, "I'm Peter Parker, and I woke up with, like, you know, people woke up with spider powers today, and I did too." And it's like, oh, people assume New Yorkers are loud and rude and nonsense, but you know what? I'm gonna prove we aren't. Like, we're all heroes today. So he manages to get like tons of heroes, like of random people, like UPS guy shows up, mom, just random people just rolling through, and they start just whooping up on Spider-Man in their normal, by themselves, like in their normal outfits. And the Jackal sees this video, and he's just like, oh, he knows Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and this amuses him. He thinks this is funny. They whoop up on all the villains, and Peter's just like, yeah, he can finally be himself. Like, he doesn't have to put on a mask to be Spider-Man. He's like who he is. Like, he can show off that he has powers, because everyone has powers. Except Mary Jane, which is weird. Mary Jane shows no symptoms of powers throughout this book, or even the last book. And you know, it ends up with Carly and you swing on over to Carly and Peter, like going to work, and they swing away, and Mary Jane, you could just tell Mary Jane is left out. Like, she never got to experience the same thing that Carly's experienced, like being in Peter's shoes, like doing this with Peter, which really, like, is very, like, is saying something. So when Peter goes to work at Horizon Labs, everyone's just like, oh, this like super awesome scientist is here. It's who is whatchamacallit, like Reed Richards is there. Everyone has spider powers in the city, and the mayor like decides to quarantine, or he deputizes the mayor, who is now Jonah Jameson, deputizes everyone, all the heroes, and you know, decides, you know what, we're shutting that city down. So when he goes to Horizon Labs, everyone's like, oh, this most famous scientist in the world is there, Reed Richards, and everyone's like, oh, his co-workers are like, one of them is a douchebag, like just a real bitch. She's like, oh, you're a tool, Peter, for going online. It's just like, chillax, little girl. That's what, like, my reaction was. My hair sticking up right here. Whatever. It's not a big deal. Actually, it's like irritating the crap out of me. Well, it's my headphones actually making my hair stick up. Regardless. So it's Reed Richards, and Peter's just like, yeah, I already know Reed Richards. Like, you guys are assed out. Like, I was friends with him. Like, I knew I was his intern. And everyone's like, whoa. And so at Horizon Labs, there's a hidden like scientist who has his own lab that no one knows about. And they're trying to figure out what's causing this spider plague, and Peter thinks it's him, that he's patient zero, that he spread like spider STDs or something like around town. But Mr. Fantastic takes his part of his DNA, and only that, whoever is in lab number 6 already has experience dealing with Peter Parker's DNA, which is like, whoa, who is this? Like, I had a suspicion that was Ben Reilly, because he sort of died. Like, he turned into soup. But you know how comic books are. We then change to the next panel. You see Peter gets sent. He has a new job, a special job for him. And we switch off to, you see Anti-Venom, Anti-Venom is Eddie Brock. He's no longer regular Venom. He's Anti-Venom. He has different powers. He's curing people who have spider powers. And Julia Carpenter, Madam Web, looks at him and she's like, Eddie Brock, you're going to play a major role, both you and Venom, but for one of you, your story ends here. So it's just like ominous, like, wow, what's gonna happen? Um, and then you see Venom like fighting like Venom, who is Flash Thompson, who's like super like soldier Spider-Man, going around fighting Spider King. And when Peter gets sent to the police precinct with his girlfriend, and he's supposed to be working on the tech for anti-spider gear because he knows Spider-Man so well and he's an expert at building like shenanigans. Um, he gives Carly the Chameleon's web shooters, and she he tells her, like, because you have organic web shooters, you should eat starchier foods, you gotta drink more liquids. And she's like, how do you know that? And for a while, Peter did have organic web shooters, but he lost those. So he's just like, oh, I'm friends with Spider-Man. What else? So they go to the old ESU lab where the Jackal used to work, and who she suspects is behind it, and they get ambushed, or you see three villains in the background about to ambush them, and that's how the issue ends. So for this issue was very good. As a second issue, the build up to Spider Island introduced, like, what? Peter's like, the quips in the beginning are great. The storyline is solid. Dan Slott's building up on everything he's written about. Plus, he's using old Spider mythology in it. We see the precinct with a lot of like the villains, like old gear, Doc Ock, Octobots are there. You see what's this guy, the Hornet or whatever, he's this weird guy, the suit dude bug. He is another Spider villain with the suit. Chameleon, he paraded around as Spider-Man, so they gave him web shooters, things like that. And the fact that they bring up, Spider-Man got benched, which is, I thought, was the best part in this book. Spider-Man being benched and then rising to the occasion. Like, this is Spider-Man's hometown. It's being overrun with people like him with his powers, and he couldn't lift a finger as Spider-Man, but he had to step out of those shoes, and as Peter Parker, he made a difference, which I felt that, which was a great move on Dan Slott's part, because Peter's never always had to wear a mask to make a difference, but now he's doing it as Peter Parker, which I think makes him feel great, especially since he could share his spider powers with Carly, like, in the open, and not be afraid of people knowing he's Spider-Man, because everyone's Spider-Man. Art-wise, the art by Humberto Ramos still works. Zany, cartoony, very like all over the place, which is great. The way he draws Wolverine is excellent, which is probably also why I like, very similar to how Chris Bacalo draws Wolverine. He's very short and stocky, which is very awesome. And just the way he, like, sound effects, and the way he just like shows Spider-Man or Peter like bouncing around and fighting people is amazing. Otherwise, not much else to say. I'm gonna give this book also a 4 out of 5. This book was very good. Truth be told, I'm giving these books 4 out of 5 in the beginning because they're very good. But you'll find out that the next reviews will be a little bit different. I'll have some problems with the books, but otherwise very good. Other than that, so I'll have the rest of the reviews up ASAP. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoy whatever books you bought this week or are buying. Have a good time. All right, thanks for watching.